Hi, my name is Quinn, and this is a story about one of the worst things to ever happen to me in my life. It's kind of hard sharing it with you, but maybe if you hear my story, you might learn something, and maybe it might help you in your future relationships. I met Shirley 2 years ago at a local bar. Both of us had gone there to dance, and as soon as we saw each other, we were drawn to one another. We danced to every song that they played that night, and when we left, we exchanged numbers. A couple of months later, we were dating and were head over heels for each other. And within a year, I proposed, and she said yes. I was so happy that I felt like I was dreaming. The only problem was that my parents weren't exactly big fans of hers. It wasn't because they didn't think she was a lovely girl, or that she wasn't polite and kind, but rather that she was divorced. You see, Shirley married her high school sweetheart. They had been convinced that they were destined for one another, and that they would be married forever, and so they got married when they were 18. 2 years later, they were constantly fighting about money, or the dishes, or really anything that adults need to do. They hadn't considered how mature you had to be to make a marriage work. And so they filed for divorce, but they stayed friends, which I honestly found strange. I mean, I know some people are friends with their exes, but it just wasn't something that I was familiar with. However, my parents just trusted that I knew what I was doing, and while they weren't big fans of hers, they would support me and my decisions no matter what. 8 months before the wedding, both of us were working long hours to save up enough money to pay for the wedding. Our parents did offer to help, but it was really important to us to do it on our own, and so we just buckled down and got as much overtime as we could get. It was a challenge for us as we barely got to see each other, but we knew that it would be worth it. As a surprise, I started putting some of the money that I made aside in a secret account so that after the wedding, I could surprise my new wife with a luxury honeymoon in Paris. Since the wedding was going to be such an expense, we had agreed to just go camping. However, I didn't want our first adventure as husband and wife to be just a mundane trip to the woods. Don't get me wrong. We both love camping, but I wanted more for our honeymoon, and I knew that Shirley would love the idea of going to Paris. As the wedding got closer and closer, though, we began to crack under the pressure and started having small fights. The stress of all that work and no breaks was getting to be too much for us.
I'm sorry, babe, but I'm burning out. I just can't take much more of this. I'm always exhausted and irritable.
I know, I feel the same way. How about you go back to normal hours, and I'll keep going for as long as I can. We do need to save up for the wedding, but not if it's going to keep causing us to fight.
Oh, thanks, babe. You're the best.
She was so grateful, and within a week, we were back to our normal selves again. I did feel jealous that Shirley got to go have fun while I worked on the weekends, but I knew that it wouldn't always be like this, and that eventually we would be married, and then I could go back to working normal hours too, but I needed to keep saving so that I could afford the trip to Paris. One Saturday, though, there wasn't anything for me to do at work, and so my manager sent me home early. When I got home, though, Shirley wasn't there. I wasn't too surprised, as I just assumed that she was out with her friends until I heard a car pull up and looked outside. To my surprise, she was dropped off by Craig, her ex-husband. Something in my gut felt unhappy about this, but I did know that the two of them were friends, and so I tried to let my jealous feelings go. After all, we were happy and going to be married soon. I didn't really have anything to worry about, right? She came inside and was so happy to see me.
Quinn, you're home early. This is wonderful.
Yeah, there wasn't anything to do at work, so I came home early.
I'm so happy. I need to take a shower as I was dancing all night. But afterwards, did you want to cuddle on the couch and watch a movie?
Yeah, I'd really like that. It was just what I needed after such a long week of work, to be honest. That night, we fell asleep on the couch in each other's arms, and I was almost late for my Sunday shift as a result. Later in the day when I got home from work, Shirley ran up to me excitedly.
Hey, so Craig and his wife Becky invited us to go over to their house for dinner next weekend. Could you take Saturday off and come with me?
You know, I want to, but like I told you before, next Saturday everyone will be working overtime. It's our busiest day of the year. I'm sorry, hun.
It's okay, I'll find something to do.
I felt so guilty about telling her no, but out of all the weekends, this coming one was mandatory at my job. No one got the day off, and all the managers and even the owner were pulling double shifts. That week went by fairly quickly, and on Saturday, when I got home late from work, I found the house dark and empty. I wasn't sure where Shirley was, but I was so tired that I just went straight to bed. On Sunday, when I woke up, I found Shirley asleep downstairs on the couch and assumed that she had come home very late and chose to sleep on the couch rather than take a chance and wake me up. I quietly left for work so that I wouldn't disturb her. On the way there, though, my phone began to ring, and when I looked, I saw that it was Craig's wife, Becky, calling me. Hey Becky, I can't talk long, I'm on my way to work. What can I do for you?
Well, you might want to take the day off. Because I found something that you are going to want to see. Trust me, this is more important.
I didn't know what she wanted to tell me, but I was so tired and sore from the day before that I called in sick. I knew that I would probably get some flack for doing so, but there was something in the way that Becky asked me to trust her that made me very curious. So instead of driving to work, I met Becky at a coffee shop instead. As soon as I sat down, she slid a phone across the table to me.
Don't worry, the sound is turned off, but I'm sure you can figure out what they are saying.
On the screen was a video that was paused with the play button in the middle of the screen. Confused, I pressed the button and instantly grew angry at what I was seeing. The video was of Shirley and Craig naked in bed having sex. I was so angry that I almost crushed the phone when Becky took it from me and then passed it back. On the screen were text messages along with naked photos of both Craig and Shirley that they had sent to one another.
Just press play. Craig took that video from last night, by the way, just in case you were wondering if it was from when they were married. They've been messaging each other like this for months, and who knows how many times they've hooked up. I'm sorry to tell you like this, but I only just found out when I wanted to get a phone number off of Craig's phone and I saw your wife send him a photo of herself in her underwear. Craig thinks he lost his phone, but I took it so that I could show you and so you would believe me.
Just this past week, she asked me if I wanted to have dinner with you and Craig.
Yeah, we were supposed to, but then I got a call from my sister and we canceled. And so the two of them got together instead.
I can't believe they would do this to us. And after all the work that I've been doing to save up money for our wedding.
Well, I am sorry. Listen, I'll send you copies of everything that they've sent to each other. But then I need to go and speak with an attorney about getting a divorce. With the stuff on this phone, I'll be able to take him to the cleaners.
She sent me the photos and videos and then did just as she said she would. I knew that for me, it would be a lot less messy. After all, we rented our apartment and we weren't married yet, so I didn't have to worry about getting a divorce. But I also wasn't going to let her get away with hurting me the way she did. So before I went home, I took the money that we had been saving up for our wedding and transferred it into my personal account. There was no way that I was going to let her use the money that we had been saving up for our wedding to keep cheating on me. I then went and had the photos I got from Becky printed and placed into an album, and then went home.
Oh, you're home early. Are you feeling well? I thought it was going to be a busy day.
Well, I called in sick because I have a very special surprise for you. Here, I want you to have this. She saw the cover and saw that it read, Wedding Album, and at first she thought that it was going to be a thoughtful gift from me, but as soon as she opened it, her face turned to horror as she understood what it really was. Don't worry, you can keep the ring, but you should know that you might want to avoid speaking with your family, as I took the liberty of sending them copies of those, along with some rather racy videos. After all, they'll want to know why the wedding was canceled. I also canceled all of our wedding plans and was able to get our deposits back, which I will put to good use. She couldn't speak, her face contorted with a weird mix of terror, anger, and confusion. But that was all right by me. I then quickly packed up my things and left and went to stay with my parents. They were crushed that things had ended the way that they did, but they just wanted to comfort me in my time of pain. It took me weeks before I felt whole again and able to return to work. The day after I left the apartment that I rented with Shirley, I called the owner of the company I work for and told him what had happened, and he assured me that when I felt ready to that, my job would be waiting for me. Turns out that something similar had happened to him when he was younger, and he was very sympathetic to me. Becky had been true to her word and had divorced Craig, and because of the proof that she had acquired, she was awarded their home and a rather large amount of alimony as well. The real tragedy was that not only was he sleeping with Shirley, but he also had a third woman as well, and not long after he was divorced. He ended up kicking Shirley to the curb and marrying that woman, although that didn't end well either. They were only married a year when she divorced him for cheating on her as well. Personally, I think Craig is in store for a very rough life. As for Shirley, after Craig left her for the other woman that he had been cheating with, she tried her best to get me to take her back, but I just saw through her lies and knew that she was trying to get the sum of the money that we had been saving up. She had tried to go to the police, but since I took the money from the joint account that we both legally had access to, there was nothing that they could do, and so was forced to just accept that the money was now mine. Over the years, she too had a bunch of failed marriages, and the few times that I've seen her since then, I have to say that she looks very rough. She always looks upset and depressed, and looking back, I'm rather glad that things worked out the way they did. And then there's me. Well, I no longer had a wedding to save for, but I did have the money that I had saved up to go to Paris, as well as the wedding fund money, and I figured that I had worked so hard that there was no reason that I shouldn't still go. However, on a whim, I decided to ask Becky if she wanted to go with me. I figured it would be a fun little bit of revenge for the two of us to go to Paris and leave Craig and Shirley back home to be miserable with one another. I had made the offer to go as just friends, but something happened in Paris. Maybe the stories about it being the city of love are true, because as we stood on top of the Eiffel Tower and looked into each other's eyes, we knew that we never wanted to look at anyone else ever again. A year later, we returned to Paris on our honeymoon, and I'm happy to say that we have been married for 10 years now and have 3 wonderful children together. Thanks for watching. Please like the video.